So, when do you plan on retiring? That's a question that many of us in the wealth management profession ask for clients. And you know what? It was the wrong question. The question that we should have been asking was, how do you envision that third stage of your life? This question moves away from the assumption that the client is in fact going to retire at a certain date from full-time employment and engages in a conversation to learn more about their vision of retirement, their goals, their aspirations, their daily routine after leaving full-time employment, and their hopes and their fears. So, how do you envision that third stage of your life? Hi, I'm Harry Starn, and welcome to another Starn Standard Practical Knowledge video. In this recording, I'll be resharing with you 6 important principles that will help you build a sound foundation for funding your annual income needs throughout that third stage of your life. By remaining mindful of these concepts, you will better position yourself for long-term financial security and the peace of mind that comes from proactively taking control of your future. The content that will be introduced in this video includes projecting your financial need, understanding the purpose and the limitations of Social Security benefits, bolstering the 3 pillars of retirement income, leveraging the power of Roth accounts, capping unknown healthcare costs, and planning for tax-efficient withdrawals from retirement savings. Okay, let's get started by examining the first lesson. Have you ever read an article or listened to a podcast discussing how much you need to accumulate in order to retire at age 40 or age 50? Well, the lure of early retirement is a subject that will draw a lot of attention, a lot of viewers. In my retirement classes, students learn a couple methods for calculating the projected lump sum needed to fund retirement income over the person's projected life expectancy. However, they also learn that the calculation is nothing more than a best guess savings target. Why? Consider this story. A financial planning professional was working with a client who was a practicing engineer. The client was quite upset with the planning professional because the uncertainty of the retirement plan calculations. And he said, I'm an engineer, and when my work is completed, I know right down to the millimeter how much and how to build a structure that will stand. Why can't you do that? What am I paying you for? The planning professional, who remained unfazed, said, if you can tell me the exact day you're going to die, the exact annual return of your investment portfolio, and your exact annual spending patterns, then I can tell you with certainty your retirement savings lump sum need. The third stage of life is clouded with so many uncertainties because life happens. There's no crystal ball to offer clarity regarding the actual life timeline, the inflation rate, and we know inflation cuts into purchasing power, the investment portfolio returns, unexpected expenditures, and market volatility that impacts the value of the growth portfolio. While your calculation offers an informed target regarding the lump sum savings need and the appropriate level of ongoing savings needed to accumulate that lump sum, it's not a certainty the projected need is correct. Lesson 1, planning for retirement is never just about one number because life happens. The U.S. Social Security system was adopted in the 1930s and it's evolved ever since. It's a pay-as-you-go program where workers and employers contribute into the system via paycheck, via FICA withholdings. Those contributions come back to the worker, their spouse, and dependents later in life as monthly retirement and survivor benefits. But here's an important point. Social Security was never intended to be a person's complete retirement plan. Rather, It was intended to be a safety net, to keep food on the table, the lights on, and heat in the home. Unfortunately, far too many individuals use Social Security as the major source of their retirement income. Now, based on Social Security Administration's 2015 data, 64% of aged persons rely on Social Security for over one half of their retirement income. But more disturbing, 1/3 of adults rely on Social Security for 90% of their income. Now let's add some perspective to that. Based on 2023 data, the average benefit for the retiring worker is about $2,000 a month. That equates to just $24,000 per year. While Social Security provides a stable foundation for retirement income, it's important to accumulate additional assets for funding the annual retirement lifestyle need. Lesson 2, Social Security was never intended to be your retirement plan. It was intended to be a safety net. The three traditional pillars of retirement income are 1, Social Security benefits, 2, employer-sponsored retirement plans, and 3, individual savings. Realizing that Social Security is only intended to supplement retirement income, it's important that you bolster the other 2 pillars through systematic savings. As an employee, you will typically be offered the opportunity to participate in your employer's qualified retirement plan. It's important that you do that. Some of the retirement plans will be completely funded by the employer, while others, the 401ks, 403bs, 457s, simple IRAs, will be primarily funded through your payroll deductions. Note that many of the employers will match your contribution up to a certain percentage of salary. Failing to take advantage of matching dollars is equivalent to leaving free money on the table. And you never leave free money on the table. While nearly 70% of employees elect to participate in employer retirement plans, only 8 to 10% of eligible workers contribute to their IRAs. That's regrettable, given that the government offers tax benefits for funding your own retirement. The Social Security Administration's graphic shown here reveals that on average, distributions from employer plans, withdrawals from IRAs, and income from assets, such as brokerage accounts and annuities, account for about 43% of the retiree's annual income dollars. This income is a critical component of your retirement income plan. Lesson 3, commit to a systematic savings plan to bolster the value of your employer plan and personal retirement savings. As discussed in my video introducing the income tax planning piece of the puzzle, the U.S. government offers tax breaks to encourage citizens to save for their retirement. Within traditional employer retirement plans, employee deferrals and employer contributions to traditional plans are excluded from income tax in the year made, and those plan assets grow on a tax-deferred basis. Within traditional IRAs, the annual contribution qualifies as a tax-deductible write-off subject to income constraints, and the account grows on a tax-deferred basis. These assets are only taxed as income when the money is eventually withdrawn. Roth accounts work differently. This type of tax advantage retirement plan gets funded with after-tax dollars. In other words, your contributions included in the gross income for that year, you don't get to write that off. However, the power of the Roth is that the account grows tax-deferred and qualified distributions or withdrawals are tax-free. You'll be able to access the money in retirement without having any income tax liability. The Roth is a powerful wealth accumulation vehicle since it qualifies for these tax-free withdrawals. Lesson 4, leverage the power of Roth. Unexpected healthcare expenses represent a potentially catastrophic risk exposure during the third stage of life. Costs associated with chronic or recurring medical conditions could quickly deplete retirement savings and sabotage a person's financial security. Our country's social health care program, Medicare, is a solid program, providing for the health care needs of persons age 65 and above. However, you need to realize that there are meaningful out-of-pocket gaps, including deductibles, coinsurance provisions, benefit limits, and uncovered healthcare needs. Fidelity's Investments 22nd Annual Retirement Healthcare Cost Estimate projects that an individual should expect to spend $157,500 and a couple $315,000 in out-of-pocket healthcare expenses in retirement. That's the average for someone on Medicare, not the worst case scenario. It's important to try and cap healthcare expenses through prudent planning, including purchasing supplemental Medicare coverage, referred to as Medigap, or enrolling in a Medicare Part C, often referred to as Medicare Advantage. Focusing on preventative care and a healthy lifestyle, planning for long-term custodial needs, contributing to a health savings account, and building emergency funds for healthcare needs. Lesson 5, take actions that will help cap your future healthcare costs. Tax-efficient withdrawals from your personal savings and retirement plans extend the longevity of your assets, since every dollar that you save from taxes can continue to grow and compound. That investment growth funds more future spending and helps achieve any legacy wishes. Money going to your heirs. Consider this investor. Maria, age 73, has an individual brokerage account, an employer tax-deferred retirement account, and a Roth IRA. With the taxable brokerage account, withdrawals of long-term assets will incur favorable long-term capital gain rates. Withdrawals from the employer tax-deferred retirement plan will be taxed as ordinary income in the year the money's taken out. Qualified withdrawals from a Roth IRA are tax-free. Maria has a tax diversity among her retirement assets, and that's important. So, what's the most tax-efficient withdrawal strategy for Maria? The prudent approach is depicted here. Since Maria is age 73, she's subject to a required minimum distribution, RMD, and from her tax-deferred retirement plans. Failure to take out the required amount will result in a penalty. The first withdrawal should come from those employer tax-deferred retirement plans requiring the RMD. Once the RMD distribution is received, Maria should consider withdrawing funds from the brokerage account because, as mentioned, any long-term assets will be taxed as favorable long-term capital gain rates. After RMD and using up the funds in the brokerage account, Maria will face a choice. Does she withdraw funds from the tax-deferred retirement accounts? Does she withdraw funds from the Roth accounts? The answer to that question comes down to Maria's thoughts on future tax rates and her legacy wishes. If she believes that the tax will go down in the future, then she should withdraw from the Roth. If she intends to leave assets to the children, then she should withdraw from the traditional IRA, because then the children inherit the Roth, which will leave tax-free withdrawals. Like so many decisions in financial planning, it comes down to your needs, your objectives, goals, and financial and personal circumstances. Lesson 6, every dollar saved from income taxes can continue to be invested and enjoy compound growth. The 6 retirement principles discussed in this video are a compass that point you in a direction towards retirement security. However, nothing happens until you fully commit to proactively taking control of your future. That only happens when you adopt a supportive mindset. You need to see how these principles will help you. You need to move past procrastination and get started. You need to plan, be willing to adapt to any unexpected changes. Adopting a supportive retirement mindset is key. In this video, you learn 6 financial retirement planning principles that will better position you for financial security through the third stage of your life. These include retirement is never about just one number. Social Security is intended to be a safety net, not a full retirement plan. Bolster the 3 pillars of your retirement income. Leverage the power of Roth. Cap the potentially catastrophic costs of healthcare and plan for tax-efficient retirement account withdrawals. When you apply these prudent retirement income planning lessons, you are positioning yourself for greater financial security through the third stage of your life. Well, thank you for watching this practical knowledge video. I hope you continue watching my videos related to retirement income planning and apply the knowledge that you learned. If you enjoyed the video and found the content useful, then please show your support by clicking the like and the bell icon for future notifications. Also, please consider subscribing to the Star and Standard channel, where you have access to notifications and channel content. Take care, and I hope to see you in a future video.